Well, if he has.
Do you have any troubles with,
Get started in about 1 minute, please.
But I could get a.
I've never felt
But I
so
want to
good.
move on this. I don't want to.
Lump in my throat.
what do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate it. If we can ask him.
I think my sinus is clear. I think my sinus is right. My lump is causing my
Especially if they
throat.
don't.
Years ago. My stomach is great. No problems with the food. I have no diarrhea. They don't have diarrhea. No
You know, you
I
got to
don't have
sit
any of
next
that
to me.
there either.
It's
But I've
this
been
Friday.
tested for
It's
that.
Friday at 4. Originally, Friday
I
at noon.
had zero problems. I took no allergy
What do you
medicine.
think? It was just the
Email that I
Must have
got
been. It's 100% humidity.
said it would be between
100
Tuesday
degrees.
and Friday.
Did they have good air
next week.
conditioning?
So I was
We
surprised to get
swam
the
a
one
lot.
that said they
During the
revised
day, you
it,
could only
started
swim.
at
It
noon
was
on
too
Wednesday.
hot to go anywhere or do
Good
it.
evening, everyone. Welcome to the March meeting of the Grand Traverse County Public Health and Safety Committee. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, if you'd call the roll, please.
Johnson?
Here.
Klaus?
Here.
Kropa?
Here.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
And Crawford and Max Bauer are excused tonight.
Okay, we will start with the approval of the minutes. Were there any questions in regard to the minutes of February 3rd? Seeing none, they will stand approved. This brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you would read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Having heard the rules, is there anyone wishing to make comment at this time? Seeing none, we will move forward with the approval of the agenda. The only item that I have, the Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office is asked to withdraw the vehicle purchases from tonight's agenda. So we will not have that on the agenda. Is there any other items? Dan?
No, there's no, I just want to make a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda minus the sheriff's item.
Okay. Second. Motion by Lathrop, supported by Johnson, to approve the agenda as amended. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Moving forward, consent calendar. Bonnie, if you would, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. Number 1, Commission on Aging Monthly Report. There are no approvals.
Having heard the consent calendar, is there any item that anyone wishes to have removed? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Johnson, supported by Kropa. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. This brings us to the next item, which will be vehicle purchases. The Sheriff's Office has been pulled from the agenda, construction code vehicles. Gene, do you want to make a presentation in regard to the information in the packet, or? You need the exercise. I don't need any myself, you can tell, right?
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi, the Deputy Director of Planning and Development. And before you today,
We're asking for 4 vehicles for construction code inspectors. As I identified within the memo, the 4 trucks we are replacing has high mileage on them and actually fairly old, and the maintenance on them is offsetting the value of getting some new trucks. So we went out for bids, and the best value that we see from the inspectors and from our point of view is from Fox Motors. It's a super cab, has more space than the others, and the value is, our recommendation is to go with Fox Motors for 4 new trucks. And the price would come out of the enterprise fund as well.
Dan?
Are these all four-wheel drive vehicles?
They are 4-wheel
Yeah.
drives.
Diesel or gas? Do you know?
Gas.
Gas.
Do they not have air conditioning? Or, because they don't have air conditioning?
They do have air conditioning.
Okay, just not.
Yes, on that spreadsheet, it had a
Right.
question mark. Yes, it does.
Yeah, these are all V6 four-wheel drives, automatic transmissions,
Correct.
and they're green in color.
Can we drive them too?
To where? And as just a reminder, because these are construction code, they are paid for out of the enterprise fund. The revenue does not come from general fund taxpayer money. Lisa?
Why are we doing this? It comes from an enterprise fund. Why does the County Board of Commissioners approve this? I guess I'm a little confused. I don't think we should be approving Sheriff's Department vehicles. I would have said the same thing to them if Nate was here and it was on the agenda. Is it in the budget? The budget's approved. It's an enterprise fund. We don't have anything to do with it, yet time has to be wasted by the staff to come before the board. I guess it just doesn't make any sense to me. Purchases over a certain amount have to come before the County Board of Commissioners, and this was not within the original budget as approved. It was not, okay.
This purchase is $100,000, so.
I understand that, I just thought it was in their budget and,
Even if it
It's
is in their
within the
budget for
fund,
this
but
money,
not
yeah.
within the approved budget of
Purchase
16.
one each month, maybe I'd put it.
Okay. Further discussion? Dan?
The only
Bob?
one I got is that your recommendation at the bottom says approval to purchase 4 F-16s.
F-150,
Say, we try to
2016.
fly those.
That's going to be way more than $100,000.
Yeah, well, if
We
you
should
get, if
probably
you get 4
approve that
F-16s
purchase.
for $100,000, you're doing
That's
good.
just for a ride.
Yeah, I guess the only comment that I had is, I realize that these are 2004, 2005 trucks with 150,000 plus miles on them. I'm still running 3 of those trucks that are in that vintage with more miles on them than that, so,
But these also go to construction sites, so they have a little bit different
so do mine,
wear
dear.
and tear on them, I guess.
So do mine, dear.
This looks a lot like my business's fleet. I was looking
I
at the
know.
mileage going, especially plow trucks.
Okay, do we have a motion? Bob?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve purchase of 4 F-150 trucks from Fox Motors for a total of $100,036 for construction code.
Do I have support? Support. Motion by Johnson, supported by Klaus. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. This brings us to the prosecuting attorney in regard to the soil erosion withdrawal of the ordinance review request. Bob, if you would, please.
Yeah, as you know, the county is currently working with the Department of Environmental Quality to put together an administrative consent order to bring our soil erosion sedimentation control program into compliance with MDEQ standards and state law. And I received a call from Jake Riley with MDEQ requesting that the county put on hold its request to have a ordinance review at this time. In other words, he's asking us to withdraw our request for a review of our revamped SESC ordinance. And the reasons that he gave for that were that the ACO itself, the administrative consent order, may have some requirements that would be different than what is in our draft ordinance. he felt that it would be, and it wasn't just Mr. Riley, but he's talking to his bosses at DEQ about this, and they felt that it would be easier and faster to work through a consent order if the ordinance review was not being conducted at this time. One of the major concerns is about moving the program to the health department, which was what the board had requested. I don't want to talk about all the things in my memo to you on this, but I think it's important to understand that the whole idea of this is to move along the process of coming to an agreement about the administrative consent order, which Gene is working on right now. This is not to undo what the committee accomplished in drafting the ordinance. In fact, I was told that as soon as an ACO has been reached, the county could, and it would be expected that they would resubmit an ordinance with any changes that might come out of the ACO. There is an ongoing question about whether the program can be moved to the health department, and the administration is working with DEQ on that issue. But anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Dan?
Well, I'm glad to hear that ordinance that you and all of us worked so hard on is not going to be just trash can. I would imagine there might be some things added to it, but I hope we don't have to reconvene that whole committee, that this board can handle what few items might be added or subtracted from it that the DEQ wants. Do you feel the same way?
The only specific item that was mentioned to me was moving the enforcement to the health department.
Yeah.
There was some reference to some concerns about enforcement provisions, and that they might have some comments about the enforcement provisions that are in the draft ordinance, but nothing specific there. So
Okay.
As you know, I requested comments from DEQ twice during that committee review.
Yes.
And so they had two opportunities to point out any concerns that they had. We incorporated nearly every suggestion that DEQ had into that draft ordinance. So I am not anticipating that there will be any major rewrite or there'd be any need to reconvene a committee.
Okay, that makes me happy.
Okay. I would entertain a motion. Bob has asked for this to be for immediate effect, so if we could have a motion to approve the withdrawal of the ordinance review request.
And the reason for immediate effect is simply because this whole idea is to move along the process of getting an ACO in place.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Crocus, supported by Johnson. Further discussion? I guess the only discussion that I have is, where does that put us currently in regard to soil erosion enforcement? Are we enforcing the existing ordinance?
Yes, and that would be true until DEQ gives approval of a final ordinance, that we are still enforcing the old ordinance until that time.
And our planning department and construction code understands we are still enforcing the previous ordinance? All right, further comments, Bob?
Yeah, and I just got a general soil erosion comment. Have we taken a good hard look at yet, and this is for anybody here, you know, what was the reason for the failures there with the permits? Is it training? Is it just, you know, I know I've heard staffing, which doesn't make sense for when you pull 17 of them and they're all not working, but has that been looked at, I guess?
Tom?
I would think that, based on discussions I've had with Gene, I think we have a pretty good understanding of where the inadequacies of the enforcement were. we have a pretty good handle on it.
And you're moving forward to fix that, nice.
We're trying to find ways to do that.
Okay.
Is there a timeline, Bob, as far as how long for an ACO to be in place?
You know, there really is no specific timeline at this point. The county agreed not to contest the order. There were some timelines there, but now it's just a matter of us putting together a plan of action, Gene putting together a plan of action, something that we can agree to, and presenting that to MDEQ. I'm sure they'll have suggestions or required changes to that, and negotiating an agreement.
Yeah.
I do believe that the current old ordinance that we're using now, correct me if I'm wrong, does have significant stormwater in it. It also has, you have to get a permit if you're within 500 feet of even a private drain. I'm kind of hoping we don't enforce that stuff. The county decided not to do stormwater, I don't know, what, 4 years ago? And we're still sending people out to do stuff that we're not supposed to be doing?
Well, actually, the stormwater provisions of the ordinance have not been enforced since we received a letter from the Attorney General's office several years ago saying that that was unenforceable. We just never went about the process of taking that out of the ordinance.
Okay, so in fact, we're not enforcing the ordinance as it's
That's correct.
written.
And that's why some townships have adopted their own stormwater ordinances.
Yeah.
So that they would have those types of
That was the
protections
whole
in
idea.
place.
Yeah.
I think we've acknowledged that there were a number of issues in our current, if you will, approved soil erosion sedimentation ordinance that were either not enforceable by order of the Attorney General, or that we as a county found to be not what we wanted, and that's why we set upon the task to rewrite the ordinance.
Yeah.
So all of the timing kind of happened in here with the failure out to Acme and the issues that came before us in that notification. So I think
We're
we're
on
still
track.
all moving forward, and
Yeah, we're on track.
yeah, I think we are, and I think we all have a common goal to make sure that we're protecting the water source of our communities. So with that, I will call for a roll call vote because this is for immediate effect. Please, Bonnie.
Klaus?
Yes.
Kropa?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, moving forward, the next item on the agenda is the meeting schedule change as outlined and requested by Mr. Menzel. Go ahead, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, Chairman Wheelock asked me the question, why move the date? And we'd had a meeting on February 22nd, all-day meeting, and Deputy Minister was with me, and we went through the draft of the pension consulting agreement, and we wanted to get this to the board as quickly as we could, and the first available date for our consultant, who we think should be the one to make the presentation, was the 16th, and so that's why we did that. We feel it's important enough that that one meeting should focus just on that, to allow a lot of time for questions and explanations and some thoughts on recommendations on where we go.
The question that I had asked the administrator was, the published date for our Ways and Means meeting was March 16th. We did not have a meeting scheduled for the 23rd. Why couldn't we just do the special meeting on the 23rd? It's my understanding that the consultant is not available on the 23rd, but is available on the 16th. So we're going to entertain a motion this evening for holding a special meeting on the 16th to talk about the pension issue, and moving Ways and Means to the 23rd as one motion, one action, and that will be for immediate approval in order for us to have the time to publish the necessary changes to our ordinance.
Is this March?
This is March, yes.
Looking at it right now.
Bob?
I make a motion, we approve a special meeting on March 16th for the purpose of discussing pension options and reschedule the March Ways and Means to March 23rd, 2016, effective immediately.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Johnson, supported by Lathrop. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will need 3 commissioners' signatures to approve the special meeting, and we will take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That would take us through that. Brings us down to the second opportunity for public comment. Seeing no more public than we had the first go-around, is there any of you that would like to speak? Seeing as how we have staff in the audience, and they most pretty much already spoke. Commissioner committee reports?
Go ahead.
Seeing none.
Okay, we're going to talk about MAC. We're just arguing about which one.
Okay, Lisa?
I'll start first. I went to, we 4 of us went to the MAC conference. Actually, it was very good. First time I went to it, and the reason I went, there was a couple of sessions there I really wanted to look at. The unfunded pensions, which was put on by MERS, kind of interesting.
That would be an oxymoron, I believe.
So they showed their list of, there's 39 counties. They didn't show the counties, but there's 39 counties at 50% and below, and it was kind of funny when they showed that. There were some comments in the audience. Well, how does a county get to that? So I bit my tongue because we still don't know how we got to that. There's not one thing, so. But it was interesting. They still are holding fast, and we'll probably see that when they come. But to that 7 3/4, and I had told the one lady that I thought it should be 6. Of course, it would really hurt us, because then that unfunded would be even greater. But give us a realistic return, So that was interesting to see that. Went to the one on millage proposals, basically running those like a campaign. Then I'll let you talk about the jail, the prison.
Oh, yeah. The prison reform bills that I've been talking about for many months here, there was a whole seminar on them, and Bob went as well. What was kind of neat was the governor had put together a committee to look at this, and members of the committee were actually there. So we've been talking about this committee for months, but we got to hear someone from that board talk about it, and it really revolved around the idea of changing the definition of recidivism. And once you change that or have a standard of recidivism definition for the whole state, you can start having statistics. And so the committee recommending to the legislature and to the governor would be recidivism would be returning to, right now it's returning to prison within 3 years of your release. So they're going to change that to be a much lower standard to things like breaking your parole and going into county jails, because they realized they were losing a lot of the statistics, because you have somebody that comes out of prison gets done, serves their sentence, released, but then they go back to their community and cause a lot of misdemeanor problem, but that doesn't register on MDOC's statistics. So we learned about that, and then I think Bob got a little bit of an insight to what I've been trying to share, which is essentially the set of prison reform bills, which it looks are, tanking hopefully quickly, like presumptive parole and the juvenile age one, are really going to hit the county to the tune of $1 million to $2 million. And we were sitting with Leelanau County commissioners were there, and it really rung a bell to them, because they don't have a commissioner like me on a board reporting to them, and had no idea that this unfunded mandate could just come through like that. And it's not just the finances, it's we're returning criminals to our community without the proper programs to help train them and help that they need. And those cost money too. So not only are we absorbing, in the juvenile case, we're absorbing more people into our jail system, which is a cost. We also don't have the proper training programs for them to hopefully not have the recidivism rate skyrocket. So that was interesting. I went to an active shooter training, which I was really grateful to go to, but it's sad that you have to. And it sounds like Grand Traverse County is really on the ball there with our emergency manager and our health department, and the training that we've had, we're really in better shape than a lot of communities. And yet this training was yesterday, and in the 3 days before that, there had been 3 shootings or active trainer threats in Michigan, just within the last 7 days. So, of course, Kalamazoo would be the main one that you would think of, and they were talking about that, so that was good. But all in all, very good. And at the Judiciary Committee, we are working on our platform to go to legislators with for the bills, and mostly it revolves around unfunded mandates again, and we're just working real hard on that. And a real good discussion about courts and the cost of courts for counties and the sheriff's departments, and how public safety is the largest cost for really any of the commissions that were there. So that was a very good discussion, and I enjoyed that. And on that note, one of the topics here at the MAC conference was the heroin epidemic in Michigan. And I think, we can't sit here and not thank the guy sitting right here for what happened today in Grand Traverse County. Statewide, people are talking about what you did today, and Bob and his staff and Traverse Narcotics team in the Sheriff's Department. This bust in downstate Michigan has waves that are rippling across the whole state right now, and communities are all hoping that this helps send a message, first of all, from Grand Traverse County that we don't want it here, and we're gonna fight it, and also people are knowing that you can't commit crimes up here and take your garbage back downstate and not have us go find you. And I thought it was, well, thank you. I know your heart goes into this, and all of the people that are a part of this, and I want you to know that in Lansing, they were talking about it. It's a big deal. So bravo to Grand Traverse County's team there, and whatever we can do to help. When we talked about our strategic planning, my number one discussion was heroin. Because we can do all we can to fix our finances, but if we create an unsafe community and ignore that as it becomes more and more unsafe, we may be fiscally responsible, but we're not being responsible to our citizens in that way. So I think safety is a key here.
Okay.
I have a question.
Tom?
Did the multiplier, I heard there was talk of legislation regarding a multiplier for the defined benefits. Did you find out the status of that, or what was going on with that?
I didn't.
Did you hear about it? Okay.
No, I was just in legislative discussions for judicial, public safety,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
The good news is it looks like those bad bills are going down. The bad news is we have a senator, I think it's a senator from downstate, creating an entirely new set of bills, and it's coming from a community very far different from Grand Traverse County. And I think that they forget, in those large communities, a couple $1 million here and there to their courts might not be a big deal. To something like Grand Traverse or Leelanau or Antrim, that can be devastating to their budget. So I'll just keep speaking up for the little guys down there.
When you were hearing from Mears about the unfunded liabilities, did they yet take any responsibility for any of that? No.
A lot of people in the audience, not just me, questioned the 7 3/4, and they said, well, we benchmarked that across other states. And everybody else said, well, the other states are in trouble too. So that's really,
And they do an actuarial every year and tell the counties how much money we're responsible to pay. We've made that payment every year, but yet
they made it a point to say, that's the minimum.
Yeah, well, that minimum payment is a new discussion that we've only heard about the last year and a half, because before that, they said, you pay this and you're all on schedule.
Yeah.
Has anybody read the rate of return on their year-end MERS statement? Did you read?
No.
I'll let you all go home and read that.
They did mention that,
It's not good.
not for this board really, but they
No,
mentioned that they are now looking at, you have an option to bond out OPEB.
On the 16th, we will hear more discussions
Yes, so
about
that's-
our options in this regard.
I was like, wow, that's
But the
really
bottom
wrong.
line here is, I don't think we're ever going to see MERS step up and take any responsibility for the condition that they have been a huge contributor in putting counties in this
But
position.
also, they're just, the rate of return has been part of it, but there's been other, as we've said, this county is very generous in their retirement benefits. And the early outs and all that kind of stuff, that's a hole that you can't get out of. So, it is what it is, and we're working on it, so.
Any other notices? Tom?
The op-eds, for example, if we hadn't have done what we had done in December, would have been 9.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
We're down to 7.9 just by the changes that you made there, which makes it a lot better for us.
Further comments? We have no need for closed session. We stand adjourned.
Did you want to introduce Marissa?
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom should be introduced,
Yes.
Marissa.
Well, Marissa is, as you know, we have end-of-year closings and audits here, and we're trying to find ways to shore up the staff for that. Marissa is a CPA and has actually worked with the county before, right, in her previous life. And so she and Wendy have been gracious enough to allow her to come over 3 days a week for the next 3 months to help us get through this process. So we're thrilled and thankful that she was willing to do that, and Wendy was nice enough to let her go. We will be doing a search. We'll be meeting tomorrow for a couple hours with the
Michigan Municipal
League to set up a advertisement for our search for a finance director. It's something I'd been holding off doing because you have to pay for it, of course, but we're joining for $850, otherwise it'd be $12,000. You get a $2,000 discount, so it'll be about $10,850 for the search, but I've got to get someone in there. Marissa won't stay forever, and so they bought us a window of time. I thought we should take advantage of that and try to have it just a real focused search, and so we'll be meeting with them tomorrow for 2 hours to get that organized.
Okay.
Welcome aboard, Marissa.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
If we have nothing else, we are adjourned.